right, guys, I am back in studio, still Dave Rubin, and this is still the Rubin Report. It's July 15th, 2024. We're live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. As always, share, subscribe, tap that notification bell if you have not. And obviously, today is going to be, I suppose, a bit of a different show, a slightly different tone. We have just experienced one of the worst moments since certainly in my 48 years on this earth. I say that having been in New York City during 9/11. We've been watching so much of what is going on in this country kind of fray and wither away, and we can comment on it, and we can try to mock it and make fun of it. We can try to offer better solutions to some of it. We can try to think of ways to get out of this endless descent in the abyss that I'm always talking about. But everything did just get ramped up over the weekend. Wherever you were when you heard that Donald Trump was shot at a rally, you will remember that for the rest of your life. Just like I remember, obviously, exactly where I was when my dad called me that morning of 9/11. Like, this will be a seminal moment in American history, and we're going to obviously unpack all of the details of that and some of the fallout and the media coverage and everything else. But I thought really the way to frame it, and kind of interesting because I wasn't in studio all last week. We were in Los Angeles and Dallas doing some press stuff. And all week I was like, I miss doing the show every day. I was like, I should be gone. I want to be back in studio. And then, of course, to come back, I didn't plan on coming back to studio with something like this. But I just want to frame this in sort of one way to start, and then we'll get to all the details, which is that if that bullet had been quarter, an eighth, a 16th of an inch off, and we'll show you some of the video of the details of how close the bullet was to taking out Trump. Like, imagine what a world we'd be in right now. Like, we were in a wacky world last week. We are in a wackier world right now. But if that had killed Donald Trump or totally incapacitated Donald Trump, imagine what would be going on right now. So that is the razor thin edge that we are all on right now. And we have got to figure out a way to get out of this. I don't think what the media largely is pushing now, this idea of now we have to have unity, is actually the right call. And I'll explain that in just a bit. I'm not for us fraying any further, but I think that there's an implicit trickery in just calling for unity at this moment. But we'll do all of that. It's going to be a deep show, and more than anything else, I just appreciate that that you guys are watching today, because I know there's an awful lot of people that you can watch to try to decipher some of this nonsense and go through it. So I thank you for your time, as always. So let's just dive into it. First, let's just show the video of the attempted assassination.
Take a look at what happened.
Okay, it's like, how many times are we all going to watch this in our life? But everyone will remember where you were the first time you saw it. Actually, I'll just tell you, we were at Target. Don't worry, we weren't buying anything at Target, but it's hot here in the summer in Florida, and we just needed to get the kids out and to be in AC. So we're like, we'll wander around Target. Oh, I can't say we didn't buy anything. We bought a little foosball for the kids, but that will be etched in all of our minds forever. And it's not just Trump being shot and going down and the screams, but the people behind him, standing there, the shock, some people videoing it, all of that. But really, not what's interesting, that's not the right way to frame it. What's most amazing about what happened was not that Trump got shot, right? Because that actually wasn't surprising. Like, how many of you were like truly shocked? Like, you weren't like, oh my God, Trump was shot. It was more like, oh, they finally did it. Wasn't that the feeling? And that's weird, right? That's a weird thing that, oh, they finally did it, as opposed to sheer shock that it happened. I suppose in a healthier society, it would be utter shock when it happened. Maybe it was shock when JFK was shot. But this wasn't shock. It was, oh, they finally did it. That's a weird feeling to have. But I think perhaps the most amazing thing that happened just seconds later is that Trump, now imagine you're almost an 80-year-old man. You've had the entire system throw everything at you for years. You're potentially going to jail, all of the crap. And that guy who got shot, he is missing part of his ear. I don't think any pictures or video of that has been released just yet. The wherewithal to get up and start chanting and show the people he's okay. This is absolutely incredible.
Come on. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, let's shoot down. Let's shoot.
Watch out.
Wait.
I mean, it's so absolutely surreal. And again, no matter how many times you watch it, it will never lose that feeling that he says, let me get my shoes. His shoes literally fell off from the impact of the shot. He has blood dripping down his ear. He's missing part of his ear, blood in his face. And he's saying, wait, let me get my shoes. Like the way he knows that he's still Trump even after being shot. It doesn't blip away from him for 1 second. Let me get my shoes. Wait. And then he wants a moment. And then fight. It's absolutely incredible. Imagine what any of us would be doing if we were shot. And he had the wherewithal to do that. It is absolutely incredible. Of course, the image that I think will be the iconic image out of all of this is this right there. I mean, look, the blood on his face, across his cheek, down his chin area there. Obviously, the ear. We'll find out more about the long-term damage there. Like, will he have hearing loss? I mean, there's a million things. But now, I want to show you this video because I mentioned at the top that, you know, this razor-thin margin we're on right now of just being in sort of like a civilized society that's got all sorts of problems as we're in right now, and then just like pure chaos. Well, it could have happened. It could have happened because Donald Trump tilted his head. You know, you talk about like divine intervention. Donald Trump tilted his head while he was giving the speech just a millisecond before this thing happened. Check out this video.
You see something that said, take a look at what happened. You see something that said, take a look at what happened. Said, take a look what happened.
Okay, so that little tilt right there, like that is the head tilt that will, well, I was gonna say could have changed the world, but did change the world by him not having his brains blown apart. You can see what they're showing you there is that the bullet would have went right through his brain had that head tilt not happened. He has subsequently said, it sounds like he was looking to a screen in the distance. There were some numbers about immigration that he was about to reference, and that's why his head tilted like that. But all of this being said, and I also want to mention, you know, that the people back there in utter shock, and that once they see him and he's chanting, fight, and he's up and he get my shoes and the fact that all of this crazy energy and the people, the America first in the best sense of it, attitude, it is just absolutely incredible. Just hours later, after surviving assassination, here he is getting off his plane in New Jersey. Oh, it's not much to look at, a guy walking down the stairs there, but it is, if you really think about it. This guy could have disappeared with all of the money in the world, had nothing to do with any of this. And now, doesn't that line that he said many, many years ago when he first started running, about they're not coming for me, they're coming for you, I'm just standing in the way, doesn't that really feel right now? Doesn't it? It does. And not only did he show up in Jersey and just walk off the plane, again, he's missing part of his ear right now. But the RNC is starting in Milwaukee today. and he showed up there as well. He ain't taking any time off. All right, so there he is. The convention will go on. Obviously, there will be a completely different feel to the convention. You know, what's so interesting about this is we've had, you know, just sort of from an optics perspective, we have had years of everyone relentlessly always focusing on Trump. And then what happened in the last 2+ weeks, about 17 days post that debate? Suddenly it's been all about Biden. Well, now it's all back to about Trump. That's where we're at now. We will see what happens at the convention. You know, there's so many, I don't even want to do like major political analysis today, but there's so many things as it pertains to the future of the Republican Party now. And does this change perhaps Trump's calculation as it pertains to the VP, which I assume has to be announced in the next couple of days? They usually announce them. Oh, Phoenix is telling me right now, I guess this is breaking right now, they're announcing it today. Did that change the calculation in any way, right? Like there's all sorts of stuff. Maybe that'll happen live while we're on air, we'll see. But I want to read Trump's thank you post, his first post on Truth Social after this. I thought it was quite good. He said, "Thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers yesterday, as it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiance in the face of wickedness. Our love goes out to the other victims and their families. We pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold in our hearts the memory of the citizen who was so horribly killed. In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united to show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win. I truly love our country and love you all and look forward to speaking to our great nation this week from Wisconsin." So before we continue on Donald Trump for a moment, there was someone else killed there, and this is a tragedy beyond tragedies. It would have been a horrific tragedy if anyone had been killed, obviously, but it sounds like this man who was killed was an unbelievable citizen and father and great American. This is from Benny Johnson. "Meet Corey Comparator. Corey was the victim of the horrific attack at yesterday's Trump rally. He died a hero, shielding his wife and daughter from the gunshots and took a bullet for them. Please remember this hero and pray for this man's family." I mean, look at that guy. He showed up with his wife and daughter to a Trump rally to support the man that he wants to be, the once and future president of the United States. Smile, wife, kids, and just dead, just like that, at the bullet of an assassin who also wanted to kill the president of the United States. We have a bit more, this is from Colin Rugg, on Trump's health, the condition now, as it relates to being shot. Just in, Trump confirms that a chunk of his ear is gone. Details more injuries he received during an interview with the New York Post. Trump says he was hit so hard by Secret Service who rushed to protect him that his shoes fell off. The former president said he wanted to keep speaking, but he obviously had to leave. The Post says a small chunk of Trump's ear is gone, which was protected by a white bandage during their interview. Trump also showed the Post a large bruise on his forearm that he got from hitting the ground. They took him out with one shot right between the eyes. They did a fantastic job. Trump said he would be attending the funeral of Corey Comparator, who lost his life at the rally. Trump also praised the attendees at the rally for staying calm. "I love them. They are such great people." I mean, really, again, I just want to reiterate again, not only does the guy get shot and have the wherewithal to get up, to send a message to the crowd, to compose himself and everything else, like he had, like, try to imagine that. You simply, none of us, thank God, that are watching this probably can imagine what that would be like. And to have the wherewithal to do all of that, it is just absolutely incredible. And then now go to the Republican National Convention today and apparently announce the VP today. Like, the show goes on. This guy, you know, they say it sort of became a meme online over the last couple of years. Like, this guy is built different. But this guy is built different. This is at this point, I don't know how you could say it's anything other than something special with this guy. Truly, truly. A bit more from Colin Rugg on the suspect himself. Just in, the suspect who tried to assassinate Donald Trump made a donation to Democrat-aligned Act Blue on Biden's inauguration day. 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks was a registered Republican. His father, who spoke with CNN, says he's trying to find out what the hell is going on and is going to wait till I talk to law enforcement to say more. a former classmate said he didn't seem like really weird or anything. I would have pegged him as a Republican. He was more of a loner. He probably had a friend group, but not many friends, they added. Crooks was wearing a shirt from Demolition Ranch, a gun YouTube channel, source New York Post. So I've seen a couple other, look, we don't want to speculate too far on this. You know, which way someone's registered, which way they voted in the past, it doesn't necessarily say much of anything. Friend group maybe says a little bit more. Was he in internet chat rooms and Discord and all of that underbelly of the internet stuff? We will find that out. But saying, just in and of itself, saying someone was registered this way, that proves anything. In a time where the entire political machine is upside down and you've got Republicans voting Democrat and Democrats voting Republican and everything else, like, we just don't know. I saw a few other interviews with, you know, classmates of this, I was going to say young man, but like this devil. And basically everyone was saying that he was, you know, he was kind of bullied and he was a loner and all of that stuff. So we will find out more on that. But now, you know, of course, the part that I don't want to do, that I think probably many of you are watching all kinds of videos on this, obviously watching all kinds of live streams. The part that I don't want to do is go too far down the conspiracy side of this thing. There will, I suppose, be a time for that. I don't put anything past the machine. Obviously, they've been doing everything they want to get rid of Trump. But at the moment, we have one shooter who is now dead, and we have Donald Trump alive, thank God, and out there. But there is some weirdness around the story itself. And I'm just going to play you some videos, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. But apparently, there were a bunch of people before the shooter shot who saw him with a gun on the roof preparing and were trying to warn police before Donald Trump got shot. Take a look at this.
Someone who was here, you weren't inside the event, nope, but you were just outside. Tell us what you saw.
So we had a party here all day. You can see behind us at the Brinkles Farming Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, you know, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up. And probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking, I'm estimating here, I have no idea, you know, but we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, and, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle, absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
Okay, so again, I'm not going to go down conspiracy theory avenues right this moment. I'm just presenting what has been shown to us so far. So if that guy is not making that story up, and it has been corroborated by other people because he was with other people, that may just be a cataclysmic failure of security. You know, I've been in enough rooms with high-level people and with politicians and literally presidents. I mean, I met President Trump on more than one occasion where you have to go through, obviously they're going to check you, every door is taken care of, there's people in every part of the room. Sometimes you don't quite see them unless you're really looking, and you probably don't even see them even if you are looking. So it might have just been a cataclysmic failure. But if there was a 2 or 3 minute window there, let's say, where they were saying there's somebody that looks like he's got a gun on the roof over there crawling, there's enough people with these things in their ears, with microphones over here, like things need to happen. So it may just be a failure rather than a conspiracy. I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever know. I want to show you this other angle because this is interesting. You're going to see Trump speaking. You're going to see the moment he got shot, and you're going to see a sniper just beyond him shoot the assassin, the would-be assassin. Well, he was an assassin in that he killed someone. Shoot the assassin all happening at the same time. And I think it begs the question, what was the sniper watching before he shot the assassin? Well, take a look.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Okay, so again, not going down a conspiracy angle, the sniper there, he's seeing someone on the roof at that point, right? Because Trump is getting shot virtually a split second difference between Trump getting shot and the sniper shooting the assassin. How long did that sniper see the guy on the roof crawling, pulling the gun out of his pocket, whatever it might be? Did he have the gun with him as he was crawling? Like, all of that stuff. We will find out more about all of this. And again, I would just say maybe this is just a cataclysmic failure. And I think there's reasons that perhaps there would be failures. We'll get to that in a moment. I want to show you this image because I think it's worth seeing just sort of the geography of what was going on here from a bird's eye view. So there basically was 130 yards between where the shooter was on that building. Now, look, it's really the only tall building that's right there, flat roof. I'm not an expert in any of this, obviously. I've watched a couple videos from experts in some of how they secure these types of places. But a flat roof right there, 130 yards away with a direct line of sight. You can see the Secret Service sniper. That's the guy who we just saw in the previous video shoot the guy. And then you can see that it's a bit more than 130 yards from the assassin to President Trump. So we're going to find, and then of course on the bottom there you can see the shooter then fortunately dead at the end of this. So again, we will find out more about all of this. But now there's another video, and this gets to, could it have just all been, as opposed to a conspiracy? Or even just a regular failure, just like a regular failure of intelligence, are there reasons that sort of our things don't work anymore, even when it comes to protecting former presidents of the United States? Well, here's video that a lot of people are commenting on right now. And Donald Trump had several female Secret Service agents. And take a look as they fumble with their weapons, fiddling around with sunglasses, as the men that are there actually are doing the job, on top of the physical size difference that these people have. Okay, so you can see one of the women can't get her gun in the holster. The other one's putting her sunglasses on. They're kind of fiddling while it's all of the men. And by the way, the men are much taller and bigger. And that's why largely, and I'm seeing a lot of experts say this, you would generally speaking, maybe it's a bit more than generally speaking, want men to be Secret Service that could protect somebody. Donald Trump, what is he, 6'4" or something? He's a big man. So would you want, the whole idea is that they are going to take a bullet for this man. Would you want smaller women to be doing that? Are women literally built for that? Now you might say, Dave, this is a bit of a bridge too far. It's not really what we should be talking about today. But when you see what are at least failures, at the very least, right? Again, I'm not going down the conspiracy road on this. So what are at least massive failures, there might actually be reasons for those failures, and they're deeply connected to everything that's been wrong with this country for years now. Things that we talk about on this show all the time, and things that Donald Trump has been ranting and raving about. And this is, of course, is related to wokeness and DEI and everything else. Here is the head of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheatle. This is her bragging about diversity that she has brought to the Secret Service.
As I sit in this chair now, of making sure that we need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
That workforce will be pivotal for the 2024 campaign season, which for the first time includes a former president who already has lifetime protection. Agents were there when Donald Trump was arraigned in New York.
We were able to work out the details ahead of time of how that particular day was going to go, but we will always ensure the safety of all of our protectees that we have.
The service has a zero-fail mission, a mission officers are training to uphold, pretending this field is the most famous address in America.
Okay, so I think for the purposes of today, we can put this part aside, but I thought it was worth noting for today because it's deeply connected to everything that's been wrong with our politics and our culture and everything else. The head of the Secret Service saying we need more diversity, we need more women. How about just more qualified people? Wouldn't that be good? And we wouldn't care about their genitals or their skin color or anything else. And when you see that, I mean, that woman being unable to holster her gun and the other one fiddling around and that she has time to put on her sunglasses. And it's all the big jack dudes that are basically doing the work there. Maybe there is something there. So let's just put a pin in that and let's move more towards what I would say is now a cultural avalanche as it pertains to Donald Trump and this upcoming election. But before we do that, let me talk to you guys about Gravity Defier. Guys, G-Defy shoes are the absolute best choice for walking, running, and standing. If you're someone who loves being active or you simply spend a lot of time on your feet, these are the shoes for you, and they're the shoes for me too, given how often I'm playing ball every week. Every shoe contains G-Defy's patented VersoShock technology, which aligns your body, absorbs harmful shock from the ground up, provides energy return, giving you the boost you deserve to walk like a champion. Plus, all G-Defy shoes come with 2 free orthotics. These shoes will support your active lifestyle, keeping you comfortable and free from discomfort. Just go to G-Defy and use gdefy.com and use code Rubin30 for an exclusive $30 off orders of $130 or more. That's gdefy.com and use code Rubin30 for $30 off orders $130 or more. And now back to me. Okay, so there is something now happening. Let's move past the specifics of the incident for one moment. As I said, we will be able to go into all the video. We will find out from more bystanders there. We will find out more from the Secret Service and all of that. But for the purpose of today, let's put that aside for a moment. And let's talk about the political avalanche that happened almost immediately after that. Check out this tweet from Elon Musk. He shared the video of Trump pumping his fist and saying, fight, fight, fight. And he said, I fully endorse President Trump and hope for his rapid recovery. That was only a little bit after Trump had shot. So that was about a half hour. Trump got shot. So that was about a half hour after that. And obviously it had been leaning in the direction that Elon was going to endorse him, or sort of tacitly was, by defending free speech on Twitter/X, all of the things that he's talking about all the time. It seemed like it was going in that direction, but he felt that that was his moment to do that. That cannot be underestimated. Now I want to show you a tweet. I'm not going to read you the whole message. We'll get to this maybe later in the week. But Bill Ackman is a huge tech billionaire who we've talked about on this show for months. Probably once a week for a couple months. One of these people sort of post-October 7th, waking up to the radicalness of the Democrat, lifelong Democrat, progressive, the entire thing. But he's been waking up, and I've been playing that sort of Bill Maher game with him, like, will you get to the end of the road? And, well, Bill Ackman, right after the assassination attempt, I am going to formally endorse Donald Trump. Again, I'm not going to read you all the text of that for the purposes of today, but we'll dive into that further. I think it's just another signal to the system. And speaking of signals to the system, I thought this was quite good when you talk about what's happening beyond the political part of this, but culturally what's happening here. This is former UFC champion and I guess you would say mega influencer Conor McGregor on what's going on right now. He wrote, a 78-year-old multiple billionaire. He should be on a yacht on the Med touring golf courses, but he is not. He is in Pennsylvania spitting out bullets, running for the love of his country. Godspeed, Donald. God bless the United States. And then, okay, let's shift to sort of another vertical, just kind of pure sports culture world. Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports. He wrote, I just landed and missed an assassination attempt. Holy shit. What a badass reaction from Trump. The election is over. He's the next president. The Dems should give up. They can't beat him now. And let's just go to a couple more. Note, I'm not going to hardcore political people, right? I'm trying to show you across the board cultural people. Two of them would be the Paul brothers, who were Disney kids who largely were left-leaning. This is from Jake Paul. If it isn't apparent enough who God wants to win, when you try and kill God's angels and saviors of the world, it just makes them bigger. Good beats evil every time. Trump 2024. And here's from his brother Logan Paul, the most gangster image of all time. And of course, that's that iconic image we talked about before. And now I'll do one on the political side of things from somebody who should right now, if the Democrat Party had not gone off the deep end, probably should be the Democrat nominee for president, but Biden and the party have gone completely radical, and we all get that. Today's not the day for it. But of course, I'm talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's no longer a Democrat. He wrote, "Now is the time for every American who loves our country to step back from the division, renounce all violence, and unite in prayer for President Trump and his family." Okay, so now before I move on to this next segment, I want to talk about this idea of unity, because this is the idea that is being pushed on us right now very hard in the last 24 hours by the mainstream media, that we should all be united right now. Now, first off, as I've been saying for the last couple of years, like, it's hard to be united when you have one side politically that largely loves the country. You may not agree with all of their opinions on taxation or abortion or this or that or the other, or foreign policy or whatever it might be. But there's a sense of, oh, America's good. We've been good. We'd like to continue being good. Capitalism is good. The basic system is good. The basic idea of the nation is good. And then there's been another side of the system. And it's the side of the system that I would say is maybe small, but has been radicalized by the mainstream media and takes up a huge amount of oxygen, that tells you that the founding of the country was evil, that we are systemically racist, that we should let anyone and everyone in here, that crime is actually okay, and burning down buildings and chanting for genocide of your co-citizens, that all these things are okay. I don't know how you unify these things. I actually don't think you can unify these things. So I am not against unity in sort of the concept of, could we all come together right now? I think that would be nice, but I'm also a realist more than anything else. And when I talk about the 80% of us who just sort of want to return to 1995 and have our political differences, and liberals will think this and conservatives will think this, I do think that's 80% of the country. I think that's most of us. And I think a lot of people are going to wake up to that too over the next couple of days. I was long arguing, Trump's first time around, I was arguing that Trump in many ways was saving conservatism, obviously, like, right, with his appointments of Supreme Court justices and things like that. But he was also saving liberalism in that he was for marriage equality and just ended that issue, right? And that he's obviously not a hardcore religious conservative. So Trump was doing both things. That's the most American thing that you can do, right? He was using that tension between conservatism and liberalism, or republicanism and Democrat, right? Like, that's what he's been doing this entire time. But to have unity with a group of people who have been calling you Hitler and calling a bunch of people Nazis and everything else, that is going to be pretty tough to do. I would also add, and then we'll get to some clips on this, that if this was an assassination attempt of Joe Biden, would they be calling for unity right now? Or would they be calling, regardless of who attempted to do it, would they be calling for all MAGA people and everyone in a red hat to be arrested and looked into by the FBI and CIA and everything else? So this is just another trick of the system, right? I'm not against the concept of unity, but unity is a two-way street. So now let's just get into some other things. Here is Biden's initial response. This is about 2 hours after the assassination attempt. Here's just a portion of that speech.
And I hope I get to speak to him tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think this was an assassination
attempt?
Do we have that?
I don't know enough to, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments.
I mean, what? How do you unify with this? Do you think it was an assassination attempt? A man was on a rooftop 145 yards away from the former president, who's now running against you, shot him. Part of his ear is blown off. Do you think it's an assassination attempt? I have an opinion. I have no facts. What more would you need? What more would you need? The best I can say about Biden right there is he just doesn't know what he's saying. So he said that, but that's not great either. I want to read a response from Ron DeSantis after watching that press conference, because I thought he really nailed it. He says, Biden tells us to trust the bureaucracy to investigate the assassin's motive. But the feds categorize the crazed leftist congressional baseball shooter as suicide by cop, even though the shooter had a well-documented left-wing political bent and made sure that the players on the field were Republicans before attacking. And there does need to be an investigation regarding the security protocols used in Butler. The answer to the following question must be provided in short order. How did someone armed with a rifle get on top of a roof 150 yards away from the stage? DC bureaucratic failures almost never result in any accountability. This time it needs to be different. Our country is in peril. It's in partly because the DC ruling class has consistently evaded responsibility for its failures. So that, of course, that's absolutely right. Like post-COVID, where nobody pays the price for anything, no matter what they do. Maybe this will be an instance where we actually, some people will have to be fired. We're going to have to look at why we hire certain people, right? Like, it's so interesting too, because it's like Trump, who came in to drain that swamp, and you can say whether he did or didn't, or whether he could this time or not, or whether he'd get rolled again if they brought out another COVID. But the whole idea of Trump is we're going to fix this rotten thing that is clearly not working, and we can all see it. And now he potentially, I mean, basically this is what DeSantis is saying, Trump is now the victim of that ineptitude. That how did this happen in the first place? How did that guy get 150 yards away? And again, that's not a conspiracy. That's just laying out what happened and asking direct questions about it. Anyway, Joe Biden then went to the White House the day after, so this is yesterday, and talked about how violence is never the answer. I would question whether, well, I'll leave it to you to make a decision for yourself as to whether this is genuine or not.
We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled it before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer. Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or a brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against the sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There is no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. You know, that's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets.
We do it at the battle box. First off, he's so emotionally dysregulated. He reads poorly. The battle box. The ballot box, Joe? Are we going to the Thunderdome? Like, I'm sorry, I just cannot believe a word this man says. And the irony, we'll get to some of his tweets and some of the things he said about Trump and some of the other things that Democrats have said about Trump. But for years, you've been calling this guy Hitler. Do you think someone might want to take out Hitler early, right? That would, if you genuinely, oh, he's about to do a Holocaust of the Jews, and then in a war that will subsequently follow, another 20, 30 million people are going to be killed. Do you think somebody might be willing to kill the guy? So it's not just that he doesn't know what he's saying, he's reading poorly, the emotions are not there properly and everything else. It's like a lot of what you guys have ushered in is exactly what led to this. Here he is, this is just quick, but he almost says make America great again at the end, which would have been the most perfect way to end this thing.
So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America, think about it.
Okay, I'll pass on the jokes for today's purpose. For the purposes of today, this is from Barack Obama, who it took hours and hours for him or Biden or Clinton to post anything. He wrote, "There is absolutely no place for political violence in our democracy. Although we don't know yet what exactly happened, we should all be relieved that former President Trump wasn't seriously hurt and use this moment to recommit ourselves to civility and respect in our politics. Michelle and I are wishing him a quick recovery." I would say the same thing as I just said about Joe Biden to Obama. It's like, you guys have for a long, long time now been saying that he was Hitler, that he and his movement were going to usher in sort of this new Nazi regime here in the United States and everything else. So you're giving like the most sort of soft shoe version of we're happy he's okay. But again, if you really believed any of the things you were saying, if any of these people on MSNBC or anywhere else believed that Donald Trump was Hitler and he was about to take out Rachel Maddow and the rest of them, or end democracy, or jail all his opponents and everything else, would it be worth killing Hitler? It's worth thinking about. AOC's tweet was absolutely horrific. Listen to this. There is no place for political violence, including the horrific incident we just witnessed in Pennsylvania. It is absolutely unacceptable and must be denounced in the strongest of terms. My heart goes out to all the victims, and I wish the former president a speedy recovery. She doesn't even say what the incident was. She refuses to say shooting, and she refuses to say Donald Trump's name. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting, and this is what I mean by unity. I would love for as many Americans, it's about 350 million Americans. Well, we don't even know how many, or that's how many people we think it's in the country. We don't know how many are actually here that are citizens. I would love everybody to largely believe that the country was good, and let's figure out ways to all pursue happiness together and believe in our founding documents and all of those things. But I don't know how you have unity with these type of people. I'm not saying they should be kicked out. I'm not saying they should be arrested. I'm certainly not saying they should be killed. Of course not. But how do you have unity with people who are completely antithetical to what the whole purpose of the nation is? I responded to that AOC tweet. I wrote this: your career, your entire career, is based off ginning up hatred of America and your political opponents. Here you won't describe what happened, nor say Trump's name. You should be kicked out of Congress and bartending at Applebee's. And then I realized that was an unfair shot to Applebee's. Applebee's is just fine. I know you're more of a Chili's guy, but Applebee's is just fine. So I apologize to everyone at Applebee's, and maybe I'll take the team to Applebee's just as a full, no Chili's. All right, we're going to go to Chili's as a couple to Applebee's, but whatever. Now, it's not just the Democrat elite who sort of mealy mouth their way through this thing, right? Because again, I just one more time, I promise I won't say it again. If you really believed what you were saying about Donald Trump, he is Hitler, he is going to usher in all of this horror, would it kind of be okay to kill him? It's a philosophical question, right? There's the philosophical question that people always ask, the thought game: would you kill baby Hitler? Would that be morally right? Well, so for these people, they've been saying, wait, this is the worst man. He's ending America. It's going to cause people to be put in camps, and he's going to kill people and all these things. Like, what would you do? It's just worth thinking about. That's all I'm saying. But I want to show you now the media reaction to some of this, because I think something else happened over the weekend, which is that, you guys know that largely social media, online shows like this have completely dwarfed mainstream media. And thank God that they have. Otherwise, we would have no freaking clue what's going on. And had it not been for Twitter over the weekend, who knows what videos would have even gotten out there without being suppressed and everything else. But if you now want an example of how absolutely horrific the mainstream media has become, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of them. And what do I always say about the mainstream media? They don't have to be great. All they had to do was just not be abjectly 100% horrible over these years. And probably people like me and people like Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly and whoever else you may enjoy watching probably would not be as influential as we are, because there wouldn't be a need for it. But now check out some of these mainstream media headlines as to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Washington Post: Trump escorted away after loud noises at Pennsylvania rally. CNN: Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. USA Today: Trump removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles former president crowd. NBC: Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after popping noises heard at his Pennsylvania rally. CNN: Trump injured in incident at rally. LA Times: Trump whisked off stage in Pennsylvania after loud noises rang through the crowd. Forbes: oh, and this one, look at this. This is an editorial. Will surviving gunfire be Donald Trump's next appeal to black voters? Forbes did end up deleting that one, and it's under their subtitle. They have a subsection on their website for diversity and inclusion, which is insane. But my God, guys, my God, this is where we are at. So if you have a friend that still reads Washington Post or watches CNN or pays attention to the New York Times or any of these things, like, this is it, guys. This is the actual breaking point right now. It might be an entire breaking point for a country, but at least in the media lens, how do we all visualize reality, right? There's reality. Reality exists, period. Reality is just something that exists, right? It's the nature of the universe. There's something happening here. We're all part of it, right? That's reality. What the media is supposed to do is give you a lens so you're able to have some ballpark sense of what reality is. Did any of those headlines sound right to you and would have written any of those headlines that way had it been Barack Obama or Joe Biden or quite literally any other Democrat. And what's even more amazing about them writing those headlines is they still think they're going to get away with it. They still think they're going to. Is there anyone that reads that headline? There were loud noises at the Trump rally. And then first off, what they're hoping is that you're not going to click in, right? Because they know no one reads long form anymore. So that might be one version of it. But, there were just loud noises at the Trump rally. They had to run Trump off. What a pussy that guy is. But for someone that goes still to CNN.com and has a neuron firing, and I know that there's not many of them, wouldn't you know that if you were the editor there, that within the first paragraph, you're going to have to say something about those loud noises. They had something to do with and they blew up part of his ear. But that is how stupid they want their audience to be. And this is not tenable anymore. And maybe right now we are getting to the moment where the threshold that people are willing to put up with. They can put up with a lot, but you can't blow off the former president's ear and tell us that it was because of a loud noise. Now, let's also watch how the media is trying to spin some of this, because on one hand, they're calling for unity right now, but also, and you know what's going to happen, they're going to start blaming Trump and his supporters for bringing unearthing this violence in the first place. Here's Democrat activist, quote unquote, journalist George Stephanopoulos.
And also, George, we have to point out, no matter what the shooter's motives were, no matter who the shooter is, you are going to hear conspiracy theories going forward.
No question about that. But as you point out, those statements from J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy, of course, President Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric as well.
Well, absolutely, George. We were just looking back this morning at some of the things that former President Trump has said. He warned last March of potential death and destruction if he were charged by the Manhattan District Attorney. Our country is being destroyed as they tell us to be peaceful. Trump in January warned of bedlam in the country if the criminal charges against him succeeded. And of course, in March, he said, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That will be the least of it. He said he was partly joking and that was taken out of context. But those are indeed his words. And you have heard it from supporters as well. And supporters are certainly, in some parts, angry.
All right, let me try to give the devil his due here. No one is like purely innocent as it comes to words and language and going after the other side and everything else. And I would include myself in that. Right? Like whether it's sarcasm, whether it's over the top rhetoric, whether it's all of those things, for as measured as I try to be, we all say things, right? And you have to believe that people have autonomy over their minds, that they can hear a whole bunch of other things and then not go kill somebody, right? So unless somebody is directly calling for violence, go kill that guy, then obviously freedom of speech allows for a plurality of people to say whatever they want about things. The difference here, when they can grab a couple out of context things that Trump has said, is that an entire machine, and we just read you some of those absolutely absurd headlines about the guy getting shot, an entire machine and culture has been saying that this man is the worst of all things. Hitler would be the top of the hierarchy of worst of all things. Now, ironically, it's some of the base of the Democrats that are kind of into Hitler and his ideas, but put that aside for today. So over time, there is no equivalence here between the rhetoric. By the way, it's not just the rhetoric, it's the actions of the left which have burned down cities and which are part of these crazy Hamas rallies and which break into stores and burn down Pep Boys and all of those things. So it's the words and actions of these people. Those are the violent people. Those are the horrible people. Those are the Nazis and Hitler. Don't mind what we're doing over here. So again, this unity thing or this equivalent, everybody, yes. It's just not true, right? Like two things that are different are not the same. So it's just such thin, like amateur thinking to be like, oh, both sides are equally at fault. No, that's just not the case. It just is not. I'm sorry. On CNN, one of their analysts, I guess his name is Jamie Gangle, here he is. He's upset that Trump, who just got shot seconds after getting shot, said fight, fight, fight.
I do want to say there was one thing that when I watched the tape, I found odd because of all of the heated rhetoric. And that is that after he was hit, former President Trump got up and said, fight, fight, fight. I think what we're hearing from people is that's not the message that we want to be sending right now. We want to tamp it down.
I think what we're hearing from people, that's great journalism over there. Try to imagine that. Trump got his ear blown off on stage. He has the wherewithal to tell Secret Service, please calm down, let me get my shoes on. And then he makes a point of getting his face out there. And then what should he have said? Everybody, I know I just got my ear blown off. I don't know if I'm about to get shot again. Can we just take a moment here, everybody? I don't want to escalate the situation. Everybody, you calm down over there. Oh, did they shot the guy over there? Like, no, what came out of him was real and raw and honest and probably braver than almost any other human on the face of the earth could do. But we're hearing from people that the message that he sent out after 10 seconds, after almost having his brain blown apart, was a bit much. It was a bit much. Check this out. This is former Secretary of Homeland Security Juliette Kayyem on how it's the Trump people who they think that they're being attacked right now, but that's not legit. No, they're doing just fine.
Donald Trump and the people around him perceive themselves to be under threat. And that's all that matters. That is not legitimate. That is wrong.
That's not legitimate. How many January 6th protesters are still in jail? Have you guys been trying to jail Donald Trump right now? It's not legit. I think there is absolutely a reason that people who are, it's not even conservatives or Republicans, people who are right-leaning are constantly on their back foot, right? Because we're watching the culture try to basically slam into us all the time and arrest, and potentially assassinate the guy who has been sort of the number one point man as it comes to fighting all of this nonsense. But who's the real victim in all of this? Well, it's Jen Psaki and the other people at MSNBC.
For anyone out there who has a platform, who thinks the moment right now is to be political and attack the other party, you are feeding into the danger. You are making it more likely there's retaliation. I'm incredibly scared. I'm scared for journalists. I'm scared for people who have public platforms of all parties, and that's how people should feel.
I'm sorry. Look, I'm a public person. I have a platform. I tell people what I think. I get messages from friends sometimes. Dave, why you calm down? Don't say all that stuff, right? Like literally that happens more than once a week. I have all sorts of security stuff and cameras at my house, and we have guns and all of those things. I go to events where there's security. I've been around all the politicians, all this. This has nothing to do with me, and it has nothing to do with Jen Psaki or anything else. And again, the disingenuous, what she's saying right now is we're kind of on our back foot. We Democrats, because she's a Democrat before anything else, and she's certainly not a journalist. We're on our back foot right now because it was the Republican president who was, president-to-be and former president, who was almost shot. So we want unity, but again, just try to imagine what they would be saying on MSNBC and the headlines you would see from Washington Post and CNN and everywhere else if this was Joe Biden. Now, somebody had a great tweet on this. Somebody said, it was something to the effect of, if Joe Biden was standing on stage and someone shot at him, he wouldn't even flinch because he can't move. But the point is, if they had shot at Joe Biden, everything in mainstream media would be telling you, this is what we've warned about. This was Nazi MAGA finally unleashed. And now Trump absolutely has to go to jail and everything else. So this call for unity or parity between the sides is just nonsense. I actually found a wonderful tweet. This is just a random anonymous Twitter account that I came across this tweet that I thought summed it up quite nicely. It's called Cynical Publius. So the last 24 hours, I have been doing something I never do, which is to watch cable news, CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. I am alarmed. I hear thoughts from both Democrat and GOP politicians about how we need unity and we need to tone down the rhetoric as if both sides did this. BS, absolute BS. The Democrats are solely and exclusively responsible for the evil fascist hate mongering that has overtaken America and led to an assassination attempt. I cannot stand that it is being spun otherwise. Yes, we need unity. Make America Great Again is all about unity. But Dems don't want unity. They want cover. This all suggests that when Trump wins, the Dems won't be held to account for their crimes. The Trump-Russia collusion hoax, the FISA abuses, the corruption of the three-letter agencies, the hiding of Hunter and Joe's crimes, the fascist lawfare. Democrats must be held to account or nothing will change. I'm furious. Okay. So again, I don't know that today is the day to dive into all of this. But that is right. This call for unity is fake. I want unity in the way you could actually get it as much as the next guy, right? I want unity in that we would have two political parties that both believe that the country is good and then just agree on policy. That is not what we have right now, coupled with 10 years at least of lying about Donald Trump, of lying about MAGA. Remember what I said before, Donald Trump was the thing that was holding the healthy tension, is the thing that has been holding the healthy tension between liberalism and conservatism. And that is actually the thing that our founders really did want. It is ironically a classically liberal position. And that is why when I wasn't even a Trump supporter back in 2015, 2016, and I started going to Trump rallies and I saw gays for Trump and blacks for Trump and Latinos for Trump, it was the reverse of what identity politics has ushered in. It was a whole bunch of people who loved the country, were proud of the country, and wanted freedom for as many people as possible. And is it possible that this kind of out there New York City real estate magnate, is it odd that he's the one that is bringing it to us? Well, I suppose it is, and maybe it isn't, because he grew up in a largely Democrat thing. He understands what corruption is. He grew up through the media and everything else. But this idea now that now we have to tone it down, it's the reverse of what these people are doing. Connor, I assume we have a compilation that would prove my point so that I can take a breath, right?
Of course, it's Trump is a Nazi time again.
Let's deal with Hitler, okay?
I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that. I mean, that is Mussolini, Hitler-like language.
Trump's affinity for Hitler was always covered under an umbrella of his stupidity.
Echoing Hitler's words.
Listen to this.
Well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right. Echoing the hateful rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
It echoes Hitler. That's the kind of language Hitler used in Mein Kampf.
About vermin and Hitler and Mussolini.
That's a horrifying clip. That's a fascist clip.
You're just going full on Hitler.
It's from Hitler's Germany.
We just need to say, for the record, that the term vermin was really effectively used by Adolf Hitler.
Echoed dictators like Hitler.
With language evoking authoritarian figures like Adolf Hitler.
Donald Trump parroted the autocratic language of Adolf Hitler.
Talk about the brilliance of Hitler's generals.
Correct.
General Kelly, yeah.
I assure you guys that is but a small snippet of what could have been put together online of them doing this thing. So again, what if you really believed that? What would you do to stop Hitler? I think that's what all of those people have to think about right now, right? Like, I think Joe Biden's an absolutely horrible president. I think it's obvious that he has dementia. I think the Democrats have brought such destruction into this country, it's crazy. But I'm not for killing any of them, right? And I think what they have signaled by using these over-the-top comparisons for so long, not criticism, honest criticisms of policies, right? If I say Bernie Sanders is a socialist, and socialism leads to the death of all sorts of people, and it's counter to the American ethos and all those things, this is first off, it's a true notion, but you can explain it, right? But what they never did was explain why they hated him. And that's not what they're particularly good at. They are good at using labels. Here are two quote-unquote comedians who, as I often say, always give the machine what it wants, comparing Donald Trump to Hitler.
Fourth Reich, if you will. The good news is Trump wants to bring the country together. The bad news is that country is Germany in 1933. His campaign said it wasn't Trump who reposted the video. It was one of the junior Nazis who worked for him. But what else does this man have to do for people to see what he is? Just grows a mustache? What if he grew the mustache? What if he grew a little blonde Hitler mustache, started strutting around with his arm out straight? You think it would have any effect? How many of his supporters do you think would say, all right, that's too much for me? I guess maybe 10.
Trump loves Hitler because he loves him some dictator. And he always has. Out on the campaign trail, he's been out there on the campaign trail recently. He's been using some of Hitler's favorite phrases in the various speeches he's been giving. Biden campaign has noticed Trump's fascist speeches, and they've continually linked Trump to Hitler. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Donald Trump is a fascist, because according to the Washington Post, Trump has long toyed with the language of fascists, but is now echoing dictators like Hitler and Mussolini. So less of a walk it back and more of a goose step it forward. Evidently, MAGA now stands for Make America Germany around 1938. I reached the same conclusions as Hitler independently. He probably got the version with pictures. Mein first Kampf.
How someone could watch that and laugh is truly beyond me. The people that watch those shows honestly should be studied. But okay, so you see what they've done. So over time, if this keeps getting ingrained and ingrained and ingrained and ingrained into a system, first off, a huge amount of people believe it. And the irony of Colbert, who is a corporate comic who only has the job because he pushes the narrative of the Democrats, that's actual fascism, right? When the corporations and the political elite are working together against you, that is fascism. Do you sense that the political elite and the corporations are working in cahoots against or for Donald Trump? Like, obviously not. It's just insane. And then, of course, the next part of this, who has not only been seeding the ground with Donald Trump is evil, his supporters are, Nazis and everything else, but who has also been seeding the ground with you can be violent when you want to be violent? Well, of course, that is the Democrats. Here is Kamala Harris talking to corporate comedian Stephen Colbert during the BLM Summer of Love.
I know that there are protests still happening in major cities across the United States. I'm just not seeing the reporting on it that I had
that's right.
for the first few weeks.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And they're not, this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should not.
Wow. I mean, that's an oldie, but it's a goodie. She's smiling as she's saying they're not going to let up, and they should not let up. They burned down cities. They destroyed stores and homes and wreaked chaos for really more than a summer. Like, we all think of it as that summer of love, but it was way more than that. And now BLM, which was a completely fraudulent organization that had nothing to do with making Black Lives Matter, it has morphed into a Hamas organization. So that is part and parcel of the Democrat Party. So I'm sorry, I don't know how to have unity with those people. And by the way, it's not just Kamala Harris on that side of the aisle. Connor, how you doing on the compilation thing? We got one of maybe a whole bunch of Democrats saying absolutely crazy things, basically calls for violence that it's a little unclear to me whether this is even constitutionally protected speech. You got one of those?
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Man, I know that you guys have seen a lot of those clips before, maybe not in that full compilation, and we've shown you a lot of those before. That Maxine Waters one we've shown you a million times. But to the backdrop of what happened this weekend, do you think that maybe these people are responsible to some extent? Maybe not for what was exactly going on in this shooter's mind. We will find out about that. I don't need to speculate on that. But for the overall tenor and tone of the country and where we are at with things, do Do you think that a little of the blame lays on their doorstep? I think a whole bunch of the blame does. And by the way, it's not that you can't find some random video of a Republican here or there saying something like that might fit into the reverse version of that compilation. Of course you can. But it just isn't true that Republicans are talking about get out to the streets all the time, cause chaos. You know, AOC, who was encouraging people to go to the Morton Steakhouse where Brett Kavanaugh was, and oh my God, he's gonna have to walk through the back. That's so sad. It's like, and show up at people's houses. And right now, I mean, just in the last couple of weeks, that there have been protesters virtually every night at Ted Cruz's house in a residential neighborhood screaming because they're Hamas supporters. Like, the Democrats are the ones who have done this. It is just true. I'm sorry, it's just true. So until that is dealt with, I don't know what uniting you guys are all talking about. Just about 2 weeks before the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, here's what Joe Biden had to say about him.
Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat to this nation.
Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You know, usually when you say, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you say, I love you. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I really love you guys. What a great family I have here. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You guys have changed my life for the better. All of you people are wonderful. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This guy is a threat, a genuine threat to the nation. Like, I get it. He doesn't know what he's saying. The bottom of his heart is black. Okay, fine. Joe Biden, less than 2 weeks ago on the Twitter, Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He is a threat to our freedom. He is a threat to our democracy. He's literally a threat to everything America stands for. So again, if you are a supporter of Joe Biden, if you are someone who consumes mainstream media, if you listen to those Democrat politicians and mainstream media people that we just showed you, what would you do? As they kept telling you he was the next Hitler and he was the authoritarian that we've always been warned about, and he's a fascist and everything else. Here's another tweet from Joe Biden. Justice Sotomayor warned us in her dissent that based on the majority decision, Trump could take out his opponents, take bribes, and lead a coup while president and be immune to being held accountable. He really could become the dictator that he promised to be on day one. That's literally 10 days ago. So they have largely done this. So, okay, we're almost there, guys. Over an hour show today. So where are we at with all of this? Again, I'll finish where I started, which is 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. He could be dead right now or completely incapacitated, and who knows what would be happening right now on the streets and everywhere else, what the fate of the world might be, what our enemies might be looking at, the weakness that already America has with Joe Biden in office and everything else. But I think what I tried to present in the show to you today is that we're in it now. Like, we're really, really in it. You know, I always say that, like, for the last couple of years, it seems like no matter what we do in this fight, like, things seem to be getting worse. There are pockets of goodness, right? I live in Florida. That is a pocket of goodness. Hopefully you live in a pocket of goodness, or what goes on in your home or with your family or your community. Hopefully that is good. But the big thing seems to be getting worse and more dangerous and more out of control. And it seems to me that just really got injected with some steroids. So what can you do in the face of that? Well, I think partly what you can do is never quit. You fight like a guy who just got his ears shot off and had the wherewithal to stand up and send that message to his people. Not kill people, not burn the whole damn thing down, but fight, don't quit. And then maybe enough people will realize that. And then maybe that 80% that actually is most of us who want to fix this thing, and we can move past the crazies, the wokesters, the neo-racists, the gender lunatics, blah, maybe we could do it, and we could actually get to the other side of this thing. But the media will fight us all along the way, the politicians will fight us all along the way, the machine will fight us all the way, and the only thing you can do about that is never quit.
Never, ever quit. Never quit. I don't know if it's an ability or if you have it, just you can't quit. And I've seen people quitting. And if they would have held out longer, they would have been successful. I've seen it so much. I've seen some of the most brilliant people in the world that never made it because they were quitters. They were just quitters. They would quit. They just couldn't take it. They couldn't, whatever. One of the things about loving what you do is that it's not work, and therefore you don't quit automatically. It's a lot easier not to quit. But you can never give up. Now, you have to also have flexibility, though. You can't necessarily say, I'm never giving up, and you got to be able to weave and bob. You don't have to go through a concrete wall when you can go over it or around it or under it or something. You have to have flexibility. You have to always be able to change course a little bit, maybe always with that same goal, but don't quit.
You know, the reason I wanted to end with that right there, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious, but when Donald Trump got shot, he stood up and exemplified exactly that right here. So you can say he's braggadocious and he's over the top and he's orange and he's got crazy hair and he's a TV star and all of that stuff. But when push came to shove, when he had a bullet go through his ear, a millimeter, tiniest fraction away from being killed, he actually lived out the thing that he said. Maybe that is the lesson here. Anyway, it is going to be a wacky week, and I picked a hell of an August to go off the grid. Man, I don't know what I'm going to do without you guys. I don't know what you're going to do without me. Good luck to us all, guys. To the backdrop of all this, I wasn't here all of last week because we were on this big press tour in LA, and we're putting up a whole bunch of the stuff. I interviewed Bill Maher. We had some tequila. We smoked a little weed. We played a little basketball. It was obviously before the Trump assassination attempt. But I do think you will still enjoy it. And he shares thoughts on Trump. And, you know, we don't really get him there, but that's all. I'll kind of leave it with that. But that will be up across platforms at 7:45 p.m. Eastern tonight. And we've got a post-game show in just moments, rubinreport.locals.com. All right, thanks for watching.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm going to come to the overflow room.